It has been 2 years since Sunset Shimmer had returned to Equestria from the other world. She and Celestia had rekindled their friendship, but now she was actually staying in Ponyville. She had actually been a teacher, one of those at the French School of Friendship. She was actually offered this position by So Twilight, and she accepted immediately. She was about there to teach you about friendship, about all kinds of friendship, how to make a true friend and everything. But even though that she were teaching at the School of Friendship, she even spent a lot of time with Twilight and her friends. But sometimes during her spare time, when her friends were busy, she was practicing magic, often sometimes with Starlight or just by herself, and even practice some of the new potions that she has learned. Celestia had given her a book about new spells and new potions that she could make. Some of the spells were basic, like to been through improving her levitation spells, teleportation spells, and there was one of the few things in the book that she needed some more help with, and it was about potions. Even though that Starlight and Twilight was very good in potions, but they were sometimes very extremely busy with the school and other things that they need help with. So she had so Sunset. She might have had some pony to help her with some of the potions for training. Starlight and even Twilight suggested to go to see Zecora. She is a zebra who lives in the Every Forest, she said. And even Sunset had asked, why is she living in one of the most dangerous places in Equestria? She actually said that they told her that she preferred living there, and also it would be even more easier access to her to get herbs and other medicinal plants she needed. And it also reminded us a bit more of her old home. So Sunset went to see Zecora, and they actually was really good, became good friends. Zecora didn't mind to teach Sunset about some of the new potions that she had learned. She even brought the book with her, just in case if that she needed any help with it. And at first, Sunset had a little bit hard to even understand Zecora since she was speaking in rhymes. But it took her some while to get used to it. But about Zecora though, Zecora was very knowledgeable about different herbs, different medicinal plants, but it happened that they actually connected in this as a friendship. Even though there were a lot of things between Sunset and Zecora, there were some of the things that she didn't expect. One of the things that she speaks in rhymes, and that she's so knowledgeable about different plants and herbs that she needs, and even how to make different potions. It did actually happen that Zecora went with Sunset to the school to teach together. Sunset had asked Twilight if it was possible if Zecora could be part of the school from time to time, like being teaching about different potions. For example, if you want to be making plants to grow faster, or if you want to make some stronger material or something. And Twilight actually thought was a good idea. And it did. So when Sunset announced to her class that she had a special teacher or a special guest, Zecora, most of the teachers, most of the students knew about her. Some of the new ones didn't know exactly who she was. But when they saw that she was a zebra and that she was speaking in rhymes, they were actually a bit surprised, a little bit confused. Sunset, though, she was very happy to have a new friend like Sakura, who was very knowledgeable about potions and other medical plants that she could need it. And one day, when Sakura were with Sunset to teach her about some of the potions, Sakura had run out of some of the herbs that she needed, And Sunset offered her help to get to find some of these herbs. And Zecora told her where to find it. And she went there, but when Sunset saw that the flowers or the herbs that she needed was growing on beyond a small field of flowers or something, she walked. She saw that instead of going around the field, she could just pass through it. It would spare her some time, and she did. But she didn't know what was going to happen though, because the next time when she went back to Zecora's hut, she handed over the herbs, and about the later afternoon she went back home to the castle. But the next morning, when she wakes up, she finds herself very differently. She was she was apparently like herself, but something was off. When she tried to talk, it was like a sheep. She was bragging as a sheep. She tried to talk to Twilight and even Spike when he heard this. He fell to the gorilla floor and laughing he couldn't stop laughing when Sunset was getting upset and tried to talk to him to stop saying it, to stop laughing, but only sounded as a sheep. But Twilight though, she wasn't laughing as much. She smiled a little bit, but she didn't laugh. She asked Sunset if this happened unlike the day before when she was Zecora. And without that, Sunset could talk, but she still nodded. Did you encounter any particular flower or any other plant that you encountered? And Sunset thought about it for a moment and she nodded. Do you remember what the flower looked like or the plant looked like? And she nodded again. And since that Sunset could even speak, but she wrote down the color on a paper, blue. After this, only for a moment, Twilight realized what kind of flower it was. You must have walked in through poisoned yolk, which Spike once again laughed harder. He could barely breathe. And Sunset looked at Twilight, but just rolled eyes and wondered. She wrote on a paper, poison yolk. She explained that it's a flower that grows in every forest. It's very similar to poisoned oak, but this one has a different effect. It has a different side effect. Like, it has a very different side effect, and she explained that what she and her friends had experienced themselves in personally only a few years ago. And then Twilight told her there is a cure, and Zecora has it. So she then asked if she needed help to Zecora, and of course she would need have to ask Spike because he was laughing so much he couldn't barely breathe. But Sunset shook her head and she explained on paper she will find gold herself. So after that she left the castle and went straight to Zecora's hut, knocked on the door, and Zecora was a little bit surprised to see that he wasn't even supposed to be there that day. But when Zecora asked why she was there, Sunset started bark talking as a sheep. Every single word she tried to talk just ended up at the sheep sound. And Zecora then asked, "Poison joke?" And Sunset just nodded, and Zecora asked what took inside. As she was waiting, she explained that she forgot to mention about this flower to Sunset the day before. But it is easily to be taken care of. Sunset was given a potion. After that, it was gone. She was able to talk normally, and she thanked Zecora faintly over and over that. And even Zecora did mention once again that she's sorry that she didn't mention about this particular flower. But now, at least, Sunset knew how what this flower looks like and also where it usually grows, and that knows to stay away from it. And always next time taken out a different way around to find the herbs without getting touched by the potion yolk. Even though the both of them had a great laugh about this, even on her way back to the castle, Sansa did actually laugh herself like it was funny that she talked like a sheep. And but then she realized if that Zecora wasn't even there, or perhaps not even knew if there was no pony who knew about the cure, she would probably have sounded like a sheep like forever. And she realized that it would have been a very hard time to even understand others. Or at least she could be they could she could understand them, but she could not would be not and she wouldn't have been understandable for them unless she wrote down on a paper or on other things. But she was just glad it was a cure for this potion joke. And from that moment, she realized her time with Zecora as a friend was really grateful. And after some time though, she actually left Equestria, go back to the other world, only to see her other friends for only a short time when she went back to Equestria. And Zecora's help at school as a special teacher with Sunset was actually a great success. A lot of students had actually very great time knowing more about the different plants, the different herbs, and especially a little bit more about Zecora and about her knowledge about these particular plants, what they had the side effects on how to cure them. She had learned a lot about from Zecora, and her knowledge about different plants was very grateful to Sunset because during one winter after she came back, a very strange flu had hit Ponyville. But most of the population in the town was very ill, seriously ill. And Zecora, she was one of the few that hasn't gotten sick of this. But apparently, she did have caught this sickness early, that particular flu season. But she knew exactly what to cure it. But after that, she had a cure. It ran out. She had only apparently enough to cure herself. She wished she could have given the other ponies in town the same cure. But Sunset, though, she was not one of the ponies that hasn't been sick yet. She asked Zecora where she could find more about these ingredients, or at least some of the ingredients they needed to make more about this cure. Zecora told her exactly where, and but she needed to go some far a little bit north of the old castle. But now it was even dangerous now. Because around the same time when she was about to leave, this big terrible snowstorm had arrived and apparently was on stay for at least a few days and some of the pony's conditions was getting even worse. None of the much of the cure or the medicines that the doctors had didn't work. So Sunset and Zecora together decided to go to this old castle to find some of these herbs that, or at least some of the plants they needed. Apparently, some of these plants could actually grow even in snow. So they went into the forest deeper despite the snowstorms going on. But with Sunset's help and magic, she managed to build like a shield over them to prevent them, stop the wind and the snow from even hurting it. As they approached the castle, though, they had to divide themselves to search around in the castle to find these particular herbs or plants they needed. After almost like 20 to 25 minutes searching, they managed to find them and went back to the castle where Twilight was waiting for the cure for them to work on. After they had worked, they managed to get at least a large amount of this cure, and even much as the population needed to be cured. And for Zecora, she was very grateful how much Sunset was willing to do so much for the fellow ponies, even that most of them probably was in bad condition. She risked her own life to go through a snowstorm to save other pony's life. And even Sunset herself was very grateful that Zecora did want to voluntarily want to follow with her to find these particular flowers and the plants to be needed. Even a lot of things could have been had ended up worse if they hadn't found these particular flowers or the plants they needed. But after this flu season was over, ponies in town had very grateful to both Zecora and Sunset. If it wasn't for them, they would never have been cured. If there had would have been some life lost though. But Sunset, she was very grateful to have a true friend like Zecora. And even Zecora though, she was very even equal to have calling Sunset as a true friend. And that's how Zecora and Sunset Shimmer found a true friendship. The end.